Hey, I want to welcome you to today's devotion. Today we've got a great devotion for you. It's one of my favorite subjects that we're going to be dealing with, and so I want us to go right now straight to that devotion. There's so much in the Bible that is so rich and so full of life and life-giving, and I love the whole Bible, but there's a number of passages that are just special to you, because when God speaks to your heart about a particular issue, then out of a passage, then it becomes something very special to you. And there's a particular chapter that has meant a lot to me, and that is Exodus chapter 33. And the reason it means so much to me, well, there's so many reasons, but it's centered in worship and prayer and being led by the Spirit of God. There's so much truth to go through in that passage that helps us to know how to walk with God, to see revival, to how to mentor others. I mean, there's just so much in it. But there's one thing that in that particular chapter that really strikes me and that God has used in my own heart, my own life. And I'll tell you what it is. Moses was a man of God. He went into the tent of the meeting and he would meet with God. And when he would meet with God, all the people of Israel would go into their tents and they would meet with God. And I tell you what, that's the mark of a spiritual leader. When you meet with God and the others around you begin to meet with God, that's what happens when you know Him, when you walk with Him, when you love Him. But there were a lot of other things that happened. But after this encounter with God, there was something very special that took place. Moses was talking to God, and this is what he said, and boy, God used this just to strike my heart. He said this, he said, Lord, I don't want to leave this place unless I know that you are going with me. You know, a lot of people ask me, Sammy, how long should you pray? You know, how long should you have a prayer time? Listen, prayer is not some kind of ritual where you have so many minutes or so many times of the day. Prayer is meeting with God, going in with a clean heart, a transparent heart, a humble heart, and just saying, God, I need you, and going to Him and seeking His face. That's what prayer is. It's the communion of two hearts. But I'll tell you how long you need to stay until you know that when you leave that place, that God is going to go with you. That's what Moses said. That's what Moses knew. And Moses knew he couldn't do anything on his own. I tell you, I look at my life, and I'm old enough now to be able to look back at my life and see some things that have been just, God has used them in my life. And I see some pivotal moments. And one of the first pivotal moments was when I first became a Christian. I started meeting with some other guys at the state capitol near in Baton Rouge where I grew up. And we would meet together and we would pray and we would seek God together. Now, I was a brand new Christian. I didn't know much. But I want to tell you what, that set a pattern for my life. And that pattern was, before you do anything, pray and seek the face of God. I think about another time I went to pastor in Germany. And when I was a pastor in Germany, the first thing God said to me was, teach men, teach women how to pray. And our church was built on prayer. And God sent a mighty revival. I remember going into Romania and seeing how God was working in Romania, sent a great revival to the whole nation. But how it was birthed in a prayer meeting, how one pastor, Liviola, set the people to praying. And I look at all of those pivotal moments, and God was saying all along, pray, 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 and then you leave. You see, we must pray, and as we pray and allow God to fill us and take us and use us, then He leads us. And I'll tell you something, He'll lead you from one place to another, and it just gets better all the time. And I've been around long enough that I can tell you that. In 1999, 2000, I had some of the greatest ministry of my life. I preached in the world's largest stadium. I preached in national stadiums and to hundreds of thousands of people. And oh, God bless, our staff was the largest it was ever. And then something happened. You see, I had polyps on my vocal cords, and I didn't know what to do. I went to the doctor, and he said that they were going to have to do surgery. I said, Doc, is there any way we can get around this surgery? He said, there's one thing you can do. I said, what's that? He said, I don't know if it'll work, but we can try it. He said, you take 2 weeks, and you get alone, and you don't say a word to anybody. Not one word. Not good morning, not hello, not goodbye, nothing. And for 2 weeks, I spent resting my voice. My wife and I, we said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's go somewhere where we can just worship God. We went to the Grand Canyon in the United States, in Arizona, and I want to tell you what, the glory of the Lord can be seen in creation there. And we went there, and we just were still. And I was going to read through the whole Bible, and one verse kept jumping off the pages. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in all the earth. Be still and know that I am God. Oh, I tell you, God gripped my heart. And that's over the years what he said time after time after time. Pray and then be led by the Spirit and go in the spirit of prayer as you do the work of God, as you seek to serve him, as you seek to do his will. Walk in the Spirit that you allowed to fill you in that time alone with him. So why don't you find a place and be still and know that he is God.